Welcome back. Welcome to another edition of Nain Shorts, talking about training here on this beautiful day, which is not as cold as it was the last couple of days. So we're thankful for that. But regardless of what the weather is like, we continue on training, continue on growing in what we're trying to do. Now, lately, I've been revisiting a lot of my old notes, a lot of the stuff that I've written based on ideas, lessons, or even just jotting down what was taught that particular day, what students were involved, all these things that help you track where you were at that time. And I started realizing as I was reading some of this stuff, and it was just a few months ago, my ideas have changed. My understanding of it has grown to a different degree, emphasizing the importance of going back and revisiting old lessons. It's only been a few months, but I already went back. I read some of the stuff that I jotted down, and I thought, wow, this is stupid. And I think every once in a while we have to kind of like reevaluate ourselves to consider the idea that maybe we are completely wrong in what we're doing, but that's a whole different conversation in itself. One of the topics that we were reviewing is something that, if you look back at some of our older videos, we talked about the anatomy of a strike. Now, this isn't a concept necessarily that was created as much as it was discovered as we were looking at concepts or striking patterns and that sort of thing. We noticed the elements that were involved. And by we, I mean Danny. Credit where credit's due. Danny came up with the idea of the anatomy of strike. Rico took it somewhere else, and now we're looking at it even beyond what it was 2-3 generations before. Initially, there's 5 elements involved in any sort of strike. There's the target. What are you hitting? Hitting the head, the hand, the shoulder, the knee. What is it? So many martial arts talk about these vital points of where to strike and when to strike those points, all those things. So it's an important aspect of it, the target. What are you going to hit? Then it's the weapon. What are you hitting with? Are you hitting with the tip of the stick, the puño, the middle of the stick? Are you hitting with the spine? If it's a bladed weapon, are you hitting with the blade? With the sharp end, are you poking? So all these things then become important. Then the delivery of it, right? How are you getting the weapon to the target? For those who do FMA, we have angles of attack. At the end of the day, does it really matter if you do it well, you do it efficiently? Was it a proper angle one, or was it kind of sloppy but it got the job done? It really, other things to explore in that basis of thought process, okay? Now, we have target, we have the weapon, we have the delivery, we have the footwork. So that's the fourth part, the footwork. Do we need to take one step? Do we need to slide in? Do we need to step in deep? Do we need to reverse our step to get to the side that we want to hit? Are we close enough? Or are we already there and we don't really need to do anything? We need to change the way we deliver something. These are the things you start exploring in reference to what makes that strike effective. And it's not always going to be exactly the same, and it can't be. Because unless somebody's striking at you the exact same way as the person you were training with does, there are going to be changes. And that's what this observation was mainly for. To understand, 1, what does it take to actually reach your target? And 2, how do we then start interchanging these, just call them ideas, to create different ways of attacking. Say the target stays the same, we change all the other elements, which means we have to change the parameter. Or the target changes, so now we have to change weapon, we have to change delivery. What if we leave the delivery the same, but we maintain the same weapon? Like, I'm only going to hit with the tip of my stick, I'm only going to use this delivery, and I'm going to change the target. So you can do all these things to explore the countless possibilities that you have with the already established strike patterns or system that you use. So now you can explore. And at first, that's how it was presented. The idea of the anatomy of a strike was, how do we evaluate and explore these concepts so then we can move on? That's right, I forgot one. I forgot the 5th one, the follow-up. Now, as this idea evolved a bit more, the concept of the anatomy of a strike became a template, a guideline for flow. Because you have the first 4, concepts: target, weapon, delivery, footwork, and then you have the follow-up. And when the follow-up comes around, you start the process all over again. Now there's a new target. Now what weapons do you have available to you? Are you going to use the same one? Are you going to use a different one? Are you going to use your left hand versus your right hand? Do you need to use different footwork to accomplish that new goal, that new follow-up? And then how are you going to deliver everything to make it happen, right? What are you going to do after that? And once you complete that, then there's another follow-up. So there's a follow-up after a follow-up after a follow-up. And isn't that flow? I hit the head with a 1 as I do a short step forward, and then I switch, I parry out whatever they're going to do, and I use the tip again to hit them with an abanico now. Okay? Now, where's my next follow-up? Oh, I shoot through, grab their shoulder, pull them in. So now all of a sudden, as I switch my feet and take a step forward, there's my footwork. My target is changed because their head's being exposed, and I'm hitting them with the puño right in the back of the head as I grab their hair. Then from here, where do I go? Oh, I step back. Now my new target, I'm holding it. That's the most obvious one. I'm going to use the tip of my stick because I just took this step back to, one, gain control, but also give myself that space, and I end the fight. Right? Those are 4 different follow-ups that rewatch as many times as you need to, and then definitely critique. Let me know if maybe I got some of it wrong. But again, it's more of the idea of how the concept of the anatomy of a strike became this idea of how to flow. And you don't have to go that fast. You can literally take one at a time. Okay, did I hit my target? Or what came up? Oh, somebody's hand came up. Oh, so now that target has changed. Oh, but wait a minute. There's an evolution to that now. It's no longer the idea of me going from one target to the next to the next. Now all of a sudden I have to be aware, what is the opponent doing? Not just where I'm placing the opponent like I did in my previous example. I grab them, I push them, all these things. Sure. But the opponent isn't going to just sit there and let you hit them, first of all, or move them around where you need them to. And we've talked about the unrealistic expectation of somebody going, do your technique. No, they're going to swing and swing and swing and swing, which means, one, your targets should probably never be the weapon that's not going to feel any pain. It should probably be the hand, the elbow, the legs, something that's going to cause some sort of damage. But what does that damage make the person in front of you do? Now, it's not going to be 100% of the time the same reaction, but being aware that there is a reaction, that there is going to be a change in what that person does next. Because the anatomy of a strike isn't just a singular one-sided thing. It is constantly there on both sides of the fight. If somebody's trying to harm you, they have a target in mind that they want to hit. They have a specific weapon in which they want to use. Oftentimes a haymaker. If they have a weapon, whatever weapon it is that they have in their hand. And they have a way of delivering. Oftentimes just big old swings, because they're just trying to get you. They're trying to put as much muscle behind it. Or if they're trained, they're trying to use their mechanics. They're trying to use whatever skills they developed in their training to get to their target. So the anatomy of a strike doesn't just exist for the person observing the situation. It also exists to the person coming at you, your opponent, the multiple people that are there. So now we have to be aware of both sides of the fight, understanding what are we exposing. And then, can we use that to our advantage to get them to expose things that we need? Opening up this side, because oh, they're going to attack. Whatever comes at me in attack, I can use the spine of my blade and move on. I can use the footwork so I can switch, and so my entire body receives that. Now you're looking at the mechanics that go along with the movements to be able to stop that and move on to what it is that you need to hit them. So now you really have to consider then that it started off as just an observation process, and it became an idea of flow. Now all of a sudden we're evaluating the context of a fight that hasn't happened yet, but that we're training for. Rick, where you at? Sorry, I was taking care of the wild animals in his jungle. But it changes the way that we then go about things, because if we just go based on the target, say, oh, I want to hit somebody's knee, and then I want to hit their shoulder.
What do you need?
Oh, just the body.
You need me?
Yeah.
He just wants to have an excuse to hit me.
Always. Always. So, case in point, I say I want to hit his knee. I hit his knee, and then I hit his shoulder. But why? Why would I do that? First of all, is he just going to stand there and let me do that? No. If I go for his knee, what is he going to do? No, that's your reaction. I was really trying to hit you and you had a stick, would you just...
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So there you go. I'm only concerned about the one side of the fight. And that's great to start off the anatomy of a strike. But once you get to a certain point, you can't just look at your target. You have to look, okay, what am I exposing? Well, this is being exposed. So how would I then have to change the way I deliver this? Well, I have to change my forward. I can't just go straight there. If I show I'm going for his leg and I know he's going to strike, I'm going to switch. Because then this stops here and I'm going to take this leg out.
Luck.
Right? Because I have to be aware that that's there. Again, this is all part of the anatomy of a strike, not just on my end, but his end as well. Now we can think about what's the reaction. I have a viable way of entering and taking out this knee. What would happen to his body? It would probably crumble. So why would I go his shoulder? Why not his head? Oh, look, I'm close enough, I can use the puño. So now I'm aware that if I take this knee out, I'm going to get his head. I had to take care of this. Wait, but wouldn't this also become an anatomy of a strike at the same time? So not only this target, but I know his target is my head. So I'm going to intercept. I'm going to destroy his anatomy of a strike. But now my target became his hand. My empty hand became the weapon. Let's say an angle 1, because it came from the right over here. That's my delivery. My footwork was already involved in this other one, so I didn't really need to consider that anymore. Other than the fact that if I stayed out here, I probably wouldn't have the strength to stop that strike, which is why I switched over and had my left foot in towards this. So I can get that knee, and I can get the head, and I can finish off the fight, just like the earlier example. Thank you very much, Rick. That was awesome. Appreciate you.
Bully.
Keep in mind, folks, that wasn't rehearsed. That was the idea that I had earlier when I was just doing shadow boxing. And this is then how we explore the reality behind it. Because again, it's one thing to come up with a concept, and if you've been if you had physical contact in your martial arts, you've actually, thrown punches, kicks, that sort of thing, or even been in like any sort of tournament style event with sticks, weapons, that sort of thing, you have a good sense, or at least some sense, maybe not a good sense, some sense of what it's like to hit another human being. And because it's usually protected, we don't always have the clearest reactions that people would have. So to take it a bit further, we start exploring, using the template of the anatomy of a strike to then explore, 1, the things we have available to us, 2, the idea of flow, how we can move from one target to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and eventually to the realm of application, where we start realizing that the other person, the person fighting us, has the same available ideas. They have their targets, they have their delivery, they have their weapons, they have their footwork, and they definitely have their follow-up, because you've heard it many, many times before. No one's ever going to just throw one punch at you, but yet we stop at one punch in our training. Consider this an idea, one of many, I'm sure, on how to then move beyond the singular punch and to somebody who's really attacking you. Can you make your techniques work within that realm when people are throwing more than one punch? Can you use the same punch art or whatever techniques, and however you call them or define them, even though they start off with their left hand instead of their right? And if you can't, how can you explore, or how can you make it work? Because ultimately, that's what we want to do. We want to have the mentality that, yeah, I know 3 punch arts. That's it. That's all I know. But I understand them so well that I can make them work, whether it's they throw a right hand, a left hand, a kick, a knee, an elbow. I can make them work somehow because I understand them that deeply. The anatomy of a strike is just another way to evaluate all the things that are involved, because they're there, folks. Whatever you want to call them, they're there. You have those ideas there. Somebody has to hit you. They have to get from point A to point B. Labeling point A and point B just allows us to have a conversation about it, allows us to be able to then change the variables. This is A, this is B. Okay, what if A is this? And then what if B is this? Well, what if B moved? Okay, then A needs to do this in order to get to B again. And start implementing these ideas just to explore, and then to keep going, and eventually to apply. So again, it started off one way, but looking back at it and reevaluating it, now that I've had more training, more ideas that I've explored, it's changed. And it's changed multiple times since its incarnation, because it makes sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to you. Again, the way that you explore it, it's different. But ultimately, isn't that what we're trying to achieve as martial artists? Is being able to adapt on the fly with the things that we're good at, the things that we are very well trained in, and be able to adapt to an opponent who we don't know, who we don't understand what they're capable of or not capable of, and then go from there. Again, so when was the last time you went back to your old notes, or like your original stuff, your white belt stuff, and looked at it and said, that is really cool, or that was really dumb? How has it changed? Can you go back and then take that original lesson and make it something more effective, something that's going to better fit the person you are today with the knowledge that you've accumulated since then? Just an idea, concept of going around. Shout out to a good friend, Carlos de Valle, because he's been training with some crazy old man and getting some ideas, and this was inspired by you. Oh yeah, the mad scientist. This was inspired by you, and a shout out to you and your dedication to the training, folks. This is what it's about. Just how do we grow? How do we get better? And I hope that this inspired some ideas, brought back some things that you haven't seen in a while in your system, and you just take it that much further. You guys are a lot smarter, a lot more talented than I am. I just keep showing up. That's it. That's the only thing I have. You can ask my teacher Rico. It took me way longer to get to this point than it's taking any of our other students to get here. But I'm not discouraged. I'm still going to keep coming back, and I'm still going to keep on training, and I hope you do as well. And I'll see you on the next one. Till then, 3, 2, 1, cut!